Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 50 Shades of Tay. I am your host, Taylor Gonzalez, and today I am joined by a very special guest. I have Dave Acosta here, who I've been a fan of his comic work for years. I have a couple of his comic books right here. Actually, I can show them off. I have
Oh
the Lego
yeah.
Man, and one of his most recent ones, the Elvira Meets H.P. Lovecraft. Sorry, I know the glare is pretty
Yes.
bad, but he also does work on Dragon and TERRORWAR. Dave, welcome to 50 Shades of Tay. I am so appreciative of you taking the time to join me.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here and talk with you.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, this is one of the first covers of yours that I got. I love this one.
That's a Kickstarter exclusive.
Yep. I
Yeah.
remember back in that. That was very fun.
Thank you so much. Yeah, appreciate it. That was during the pandemic. So like it was just like, is there a comic industry now? We don't know. Everything shut down. So that was kind of like that was a cool project because it was happening in real time. Like David Avallone was writing it a few pages at a time. And so I would draw and then like things would happen in the news and I'd be like, you got to put that in there. Or things I would draw on page 5 would like a background character would be a main character on page 15 later. So it was a really cool way to work and it was really kind of in the moment. And so, yeah, that's like my pandemic book.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I love this one. It is such a fun comic to add to my collection. So yeah, to be speaking with you today, very exciting. I was wondering, how did you get your start in comics?
Um, I started out as a letterer actually, because I had uh, Adobe Illustrator, and that was like the main program for um, letterers to use. And I found like my skills drawing weren't really up there, but I had the program and was willing to use it to do lettering. And so that's how I initially got in, just doing indie stuff for people, working real cheap. But while I was doing that, I kind of honed my skills, and I was working with a lot of international people. And so I ended up with a Norwegian guy named Magnus Aspley, and he asked me to draw a book for him called Vessel of Terror in 2010, and it was a horror book, so again, right up my alley. And so yeah, that was my first gig.
Oh, that is awesome. Yeah, I love that. So you have a lot of iconic covers for your comics, some of them right here, but you
Thank you.
also do amazing detailed interiors as well. Do you have a preference between doing one over the other?
Definitely interiors because it's about storytelling more. The covers are easier because those take up like a day, and they pay better actually too. So it's like, when you get a cover gig, you're excited because you basically just get to focus on the image and the illustration. So you can put a lot more work into it than a normal page because it pays more. But for me, the reason I chose comics is to tell the story. So
Sure.
like illustration is one skill that you need for that, but the storytelling is the most important skill. And so I like, the interacting of characters, setting up a scene and paying it off, that kind of stuff. So definitely prefer interiors, but the covers are great too.
How did you get involved with drawing Elvira specifically?
Specifically, I had been working at Dynamite for a couple years, and they eventually put me together with David Avallone, and we did Doc Savage, and we did a Twilight or a Twilight Zone Shadow crossover, which was cool, and we loved working together. And so Dynamite knew that we just like to be put together anyway. So it was, I think Doc Savage had wrapped, and David and I were just talking, just catching up. And I'm like, so what are you working on, man? He's like, well, he was doing the Betty Page comic. And so then he's like, well, they're asking me to pitch Elvira, but I don't know if I want to do it because it's another hot babe. He's like, I don't know if I want to be the hot babe guy. And I'm just like, number one, yeah, you do. I
Mhm.
mean, but uh I was a huge Elvira fan. And I said, no, you are going to do a pitch for Elvira. And you're going to put my name on the pitch next to yours because they know we like to work together anyway, because there's no way you're doing this without me. And so I forced put his arm behind his back and made him do it. But I also said, because he just didn't have a handle on it. He knew Elvira and loved Elvira, but he's just like, is this like a warrior woman? Is she going to be fighting monsters, or is it like a Red Sonja thing? Because for the Betty Page, he had to invent whole cloth. Because Betty Page was a beautiful pinup model, but to put her in an adventure story, he had to figure that out. So I'm like, I can help you with this, because I was a Elvira fan since I was 7 years old, and I saw her
Oh,
Coors
awesome.
Light ads in the liquor
Oh,
store. When my parents were buying lottery tickets and cigarettes. I saw that, and it changed my life. So I'm like, I'm gonna help you with it. Just get an angle on what the book should be.
mhm,
And so I sent him all these old like Bob Hope comics from the 60s that DC used to do,
mhm.
and like Angel and the Ape and stuff. I'm like, it's like this. It's a comedy, and there's monsters, and she breaks the fourth wall. She's going to talk to the audience just like her show, whatever. And so it's mostly a comedy, and there's going to be monsters in there. And I basically pitched to him like it's Bugs Bunny with boobs. You know, Bugs Bunny in every cartoon, he's just chilling in his rabbit hole, and they build a baseball field on top of it. And then he's got to deal with that problem. So that's Elvira in the books, is she's just chilling, and then stuff happens to her, and suddenly she's in a big adventure.
Oh,
And
that is great.
so then, yeah, I had to do a couple rounds of drawings and turnarounds of Elvira for Cassandra Peterson to approve personally. And she rejected a lot, but I got a satisfactory drawing model for it, and she approved it. And that was surprising to me, how involved she was from the beginning and continues to be,
Mhm.
which is super cool, because it's one thing to be drawing Elvira, but it's another thing to be working with a woman that created the character.
Yeah.
And Avallone, I'm sure you talked to him, so I'm sure he mentioned how much he's in touch with her about storylines and stuff.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
that
no,
was
I think
like,
that's great.
as soon as we got that, I'm like, this is a dream gig. I'll draw 100 issues if they let me.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome. No, I love that. And I love your analogy of Bugs Bunny with boobs, because you're
yeah,
right. And I used to watch Looney Tunes all the time, sometimes sober, sometimes not. But I'll tell you,
yeah.
you're right, where he's just chilling, looking for a carrot. And then, yeah, a baseball field or something crazy happens to him. And that's kind of what happens to her. And she was in Call of Duty. She was in one of the Black Ops, the zombies games.
Oh, I bought it. I bought it. I never
Oh,
bought a Call of Duty until that came out. I go, well, now I got to get this.
oh my gosh. Yeah, when that came out, I was obsessed. It is so fun. And I was like, they got her perfectly in that as well. And that leads to my next question. You capture her essence like perfectly when you
Thank
do
you.
these covers, when you do these drawings of hers. And I was wondering, what is it that you think is essential to an Elvira drawing?
What's essential is to not do just a pinup,
Mm,
of a pretty girl, which, like, you know a lot of, like, good girl artists or whatever, they're just good at drawing pinups, and uh but it's got to have a part of her personality in it. It's got to have the sense of humor, a wink to it. You got to put her in a situation where that brings out her personality, because she is like, she just has an incredible design with the eyes, makeup. And honestly, the dress is 80% of the work. If you get the dress right, like, people are going to know it's Elvira. You've done your job. But I always personally, just put her in some kind of situation that is a bit cheeky and just draws out her personality. So whenever I do a cover, because Avallone and I, talk all the time, even though I'm not drawing the book, and a lot of times, actually, he hasn't even written the book, and I have to do a cover because they need it for the catalog. So I'll talk to him, and I'll just say, so what do you think this issue is going to be about? And he's like, oh, well, I don't know. I'll give you an example. Elvira in Monsterland, I think it was number 4. I said, what do you think is going to happen in this issue? He's like, I don't know, but each issue has a different, like movie monster. So he's like, I think it's going to be a kaiju, like a Godzilla. And I go, perfect. I should have the cover here if I was smart. But and so I drew a mecha Elvira beating up some random crab kaiju, in the Tokyo with the fake set building falling over and everything and the electrical wires. And Avallone loved it so much that that's what he put in the issue. So the
Oh,
issue
that's
is the
awesome.
Mech Elvira that I drew on the cover fighting the crab man that I, just came up with that afternoon. So it's cool because I could just turn in that cover, and the covers these days rarely have anything to do with what's inside the books.
Mhm.
So that could just have been another cover, and David could have done whatever he want. But the fact that he's open to collaborating like that, and he's done it with other artists too, where he's like, oh, okay, I'll put that in the comic. Why not? So at least the book, the cover reflects what's actually inside the book, which is kind of rare these days.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. But yeah, I love your covers. I was going through the other night just looking at all these covers that you've done throughout the years. And one that I wasn't super familiar with, but I loved the covers was TERRORWAR. You
Oh,
have
thanks.
several covers for that. Can you tell me a little bit about that series as well?
Yeah, TERRORWAR is an image book that I did with Saladin Ahmed, who's another writer I worked with for a couple years. And we did Dragon together again during that was another pandemic Kickstarter. That was a book. It was supposed to be with a publisher, and I was gonna start. And I was wrapping up Elvira number 12 in January of 2020, and then Dragon was gonna be my next book. And then I got 30 pages into it or something, and then it's like, wait a second, the industry stopped. There's no industry now. So we turned that into a Kickstarter, and that was like a horror book. And then so that went great. We wrapped it up, and we said at the end of every project, you just say, it's been great working with you. You hope to do something again in the future. And Saladin's like, yeah, man, I'll let you know. We'll get around to it. And then I think like a week later, he said, what are you doing? I'm like, nothing yet. Still in the afterglow. And so he's like, I got an idea for a sci-fi horror book. And all he had to do was tell me there was monsters. And I go, yes, I'll draw it. Yes, I'm happy to. So he actually gave me a choice, which was funny because he was working on a couple things. And he's like, we got the sci-fi thing with monsters, and then we have maybe a Western thing with different monsters. And I had just drawn Dragon, which was a medieval period book. And I was so sick of doing research on like what the horses look like, what the houses look like, the clothes and everything. And I figured with sci-fi, I could just make it up. So I
Yep.
go, let me just do the sci-fi. I don't want to draw any more horses. And so we did that, and it's a cool like dark kind of dystopian sci-fi book about these creatures called terrors that take on the form of your greatest nightmare, like
Ooh.
for each person,
Mhm.
kind of like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and Ghostbusters.
Mhm. Oh yeah,
So
there it
whatever
is.
you're thinking of in the back of your mind, it's going to show up. So it's like every issue is a chance for me to use my imagination and do a crazy monster book or whatever. So yeah, so that's with Image. Issue 9 just came out, which has this cover.
Oh wow. Oh, that is
And
awesome.
then the uh the trade paperback is coming out with all 9 issues on April 17th
Ooh.
through Image. That's the cover.
Oh yeah, I saw that one. That one's great. I love that
Yeah.
one. Oh, so
Yes.
cool. Yeah, I will have to definitely add that to my list. It's funny because we've
Yeah.
mentioned the pandemic a couple times. Oh, to think back, I can't believe it's been 4 years as of I think this month.
Yeah.
Um, and I used to collect comics all the time as a kid. I would go to the street fair and there was a comic book store on the street of, it was on Myrtle, and I would go in there every time. And while my parents were getting fruits and vegetables and bread, I would get a comic book each week. And then I kind of stopped like in high school and college. But then with the pandemic, I was looking for like a hobby. Everyone else was baking and knitting and
Hmm.
all this other stuff, learning an instrument. And I said, no, thank you. So I
Yeah.
was like, I want to get back into comics. So every week I would go to in Glendale, it's called Legacy Cards and Comics. I would go there. I would line up before it opened. We would be 6 feet apart with our masks. We
Hmm.
would go in like two customers at a time, and I would start collecting comics again. And now I have my desk is full. It is full of comics. I don't know.
That's
I have
awesome.
no more room for comics. We have a
Yeah.
filing cabinet now that is starting to get full. it's bad, but I there's nothing like going to a comic book store, going specifically for something, but then leaving with a bag full because you see covers or you see characters or you see things that you're interested in or maybe even have never heard of that excite you. And then you come home
Hmm.
and you have a whole bunch of comics to add to your collection.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the ritual of it is part of it. The smell. I went to I took my kids, I have three kids. I took them to the comic store I grew up going to just to like let them run around or whatever and check it out. They're into like graphic novels and
Mm,
manga stuff. Uh, but I bought a couple of just old comics out of the dollar bin, and I've actually been keeping them at my drawing table, and just the smell of the old paper like just reminds me that of what I'm doing, because
mhm.
so often you're working on this artwork people won't see for months and it feels like it's going into a void, like, but I just keep these old comics open and smell the paper just to remind me of what I'm doing and what I'm part of. But the ritual is so important of going to the shop, and it's
Yeah.
still the center of the comics world is the comic shop. That's
Mm,
where people talk about books. That's where the fates of the books are decided. If they don't sell that first week, it's like box office. It's like it's gone, it
yeah.
disappears.
Yeah.
And it's
No,
all about what people are talking about, recommending stuff, and what you just get exposed to.
yeah. No, that's 100% true. Do you remember the very first comic book you ever purchased?
I do. I don't remember the number, but it was right after the first Michael Keaton Batman movie,
Ooh.
and it was part of the Batman year three storyline. And I
Oh,
was like
okay.
9 years old. And so I was super confused. I had no idea what the heck was going on, but I loved it. And since then, I would go to I started by going to like 7-Eleven. They would have comics, like you said, like while my parents are doing other things,
Mhm.
or the grocery store even would have comics. And it's and picking up there. And yeah, so I just became addicted.
Oh, yeah, I know it's very addicting, but I feel like it's a good addiction to have because it's just so fun
Yeah,
and they're not super expensive. I know they add up, but if you
right.
don't look at it like that, you just think like, oh, it's only $5 for this. Not too bad.
Right.
There's worse things I
Yeah.
could be doing.
Absolutely, yeah. That's probably why my parents encouraged it. They would
Yeah.
drive me to the store every week and they drop me off and then they would go get their lotto tickets and cigarettes and then pick me back up and I'd have a bag of some stuff. So I was there for the crazy speculator boom. Like I remember the first announcements for Image Comics and I remember when all those Marvel guys left and
Mm.
standing in line at the Comic-Con in 92 and getting all their autographs, the original 7 creators of Image. Like yeah, so it's just been like a lifelong thing for me and what I always wanted to do
Mm.
was comics.
Oh, that is awesome. So I was wondering who in the industry inspires you? It doesn't have to be someone that's still working today. It could be someone from, that has passed or someone that you've collaborated with. I was just wondering who inspires you.
um all the time I'm looking up my favorite artists and going through their stuff. Kevin Nolan is one of my favorites of all time. And through him I learned about this guy Bob Oxner who
Mhm.
did a bunch of the humor books I was telling you about that I sent Avallone.
Mhm.
He was like a master of that. He drew Angel and the Ape for DC, and he's just like an incredible and unappreciated artist. Um, but I'm always going through and looking at classic artists, whatever. But I'm very lucky that I have a group chat of fellow artists, and we're on Discord now, and we just everyone puts their what they're working on that day in the chat,
Oh,
and
that's
so you get to
awesome.
see what everyone's working on, and that's super inspiring because it's just incredible artwork that your buddy is making. So it's just like I gotta beat that guy. I gotta do something to top this or whatever. So like I hate that I'm gonna say this because it's gonna go straight to his head, but Ryan Stegman
Uh-huh.
he's in the group and his stuff is incredible. So uh and then Riley Rossmo, he's in the group. Uh he's super inspiring. Daniel Warren Johnson. So I got to see all the Transformer stuff before it came out,
That's so cool.
and just mind blowing seeing what he's done. And he's just been a lifelong, Transformers nerd. So seeing him get to do this was just incredible. And yeah, Brian Level is in there, Jason Howard,
Mhm.
Sanford Green, my inker on TERRORWAR, Jay Lyston, like just everyone. That's what like keeps me inspired and going. Is just like it's so important to have like I was saying, you just feel like your stuff goes into the void sometime, and you
Mhm.
feel like you're lost at sea or an astronaut floating in space. Because I work here at home,
Yeah.
like I don't have coworkers next to me, so this
Mhm.
is a way to feel grounded and connected, and just to see their artwork and get feedback. Because I'll put something in, and they'll just be like, "Dave looks great. You got to change panel 2. The
Ah.
head just looks like
Mhm.
dog shit. Like you got so okay, so they can guide me before I turn it in or whatever.
No,
So
I
yeah,
love that idea. That's so cool that you have that network and that group chat. I love that idea.
very fortunate. Yeah, because that's like such an important thing, is just to have like a peer group,
Mhm.
and it's just like good for mental health or whatever, because they all, and just to see these incredible artists that have bad days,
Mhm.
like everybody has a day where they feel like, I don't even know how to draw. Like I just forgot how to draw. Like, and even the guys at the top feel like that sometimes.
Oh,
So
gosh.
it's a universal feeling, and it's good to be connected to others that feel the
Yeah.
same way.
No, yeah, I love that idea. So I was wondering, every time I ask this question, it gets harder and harder to answer because I feel like every day we get an announcement of something else being adapted from a comic book to a movie or to a TV series. But is there a comic run that you can think of that hasn't been adapted to a movie or to a series that you would like to see adapted?
Hmm, that's a good question. Let's see. I would love actually like a live action Batman Year One. That
Mhm.
has always been like kind of my all time favorite gold standard of like Batman. Um, let's see. I don't know. I feel like they just killed it with X-Men 97. So
Oh
like
my God,
I feel
so
like
good.
I'm getting that charge, because I, like I said, I was there for all that. I bought all that stuff off the racks. But let me
Mhm.
look at my shelf here.
We've
And
just been
well,
getting
yeah,
spoiled lately.
yeah. I know, absolutely. I would love to see let's see. Darwin Cook, actually, I should have mentioned, he's one of my all-time favorites. And he's somebody I go to all the time, even though our styles aren't anything alike. But New
Oh
Frontier,
yeah, I love that one.
I would love to see a live action new. They did a good animated one,
Mhm.
but I would like to see like a series, like an 8 hour New Frontier
Oh, I love
series,
that.
because like you, I got out of comics like in high school, and in college I started, on my time off, there was a comic shop nearby. I would just go check it out. And New Frontier is kind of what got me back into comics. I started checking that out. So yeah, that
Oh.
might be my number one choice.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, no, I love that. That'd be very cool. So I know something else that you work on is you do commissions, and I was looking through your Instagram, and there are some incredible ones. I was wondering, for people who are interested, where can they go to get a commission from you?
My website, davedrawsgood.com. I got them up there for, different tiers, and even ones like I'm going to C2E2 in Chicago next month in April. And so people can pre-order if they want to pick one up there. And let's see, I got a couple here on the board today. I just finished up a nice little Power Girl. And then I'm very lucky because people most often request Elvira from me, which is like, I'm happy to draw until I die. Like I said, I'll draw 100 issues of Elvira if I
So
could.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know that is
So,
that is incredible to get to draw her.
oh
Ah,
yeah,
I love
like
this.
because I remember at the time Ryan Stegman was doing his Venom run when I was
Mhm.
drawing Elvira, and I was like, Venom's cool, man, but you can't have dinner with Venom. I can go have dinner with Elvira.
Mhm.
Like,
That's true. That's true. I know
yeah,
Venom would have you for dinner.
right, yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
like, that's cool, but
Oh, so
it's cool.
cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate this opportunity, and it was so much fun getting to speak with you. We'll have to speak again in the future and talk even more about comics and all of our. I'll get my collection out, and we can go through our collections together. I think that'd be great.
Let's do
But in
it.
the
Yeah,
meantime, where can people follow you to keep up with your upcoming projects?
I'm at at Dave Draws Good on Instagram and all social media, and then my website, davedrawsgood.com.
Thank you so much. I
Those
will
are
make
two
sure to
best
put
places.
links in the description of this video so people can come follow you and check out your work. But Dave, it was so
Awesome.
nice to meet you, and I'm really appreciative of this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was nice talking to you.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Yep, you too. Bye.
Bye.